What's up? Why did you call me all of a sudden? Well, you see. I also got cancer. What? You too? Breast cancer, but it seems like it can be treated with surgery. If you have breast cancer, they'll cut off your breasts, right? Well, not all of it, just partially. But depending on the condition, they might have to remove most of my left breast. Then let's get a divorce. What? Because you're stingy, always complaining, and now you're going to lose your breasts? I don't want a woman with one breast. It was so sudden and so lightly said that I couldn't understand the meaning of his words or his thoughts. When my husband had cancer, I supported him even to the point of organ donation. And yet, my husband seems to be willing to abandon me so easily when I get cancer. What do you mean by divorce? Actually, there's someone I'm interested in. We're in a good relationship now. That person is 10 years younger than you, doesn't smell like an old lady, isn't stingy, and doesn't complain. I'm going to start a new life with that person. Moreover, when he found out that I had breast cancer, he boldly declared his affair. I can't stay married to such a person, so I decided to accept the divorce. After that, a week after my surgery, I received 30 calls from my ex-husband. Of course, I had no intention of answering his calls, so I ignored them. And as a result, I am a 50-year-old company employee. I now live with my husband Dylan, who is the same age as me. We have a daughter named Amelia, but she has already left home at the age of 25. Looking back on raising my daughter, it was really tough. It wasn't that my daughter was a difficult child. My husband wasn't the type to be actively involved in child rearing. Naturally, I was the one who took her to and from kindergarten. My husband can't do housework, so I'm in charge of everything at home. I was always busy, rushing to finish work, picking up my daughter from kindergarten, and preparing meals and bathing her when I got home. I'm home. Hurry up and make dinner. Despite seeing my struggles, my husband would come home and urge me to make dinner quickly. How many times have I been irritated by his words? However, this level of irritation is something that all wives around the world must have experienced. If I get upset about such things, our married life will not work out. I always try to be patient with this in mind, but after all, I am human and there are times when I can't stand it. Why don't you help out around the house a bit? You sleep until noon on weekends, so you could at least get up in the morning and do some cleaning or laundry, right? Oh, yes. I'll try to get up early next time. More than 20 years have passed since this conversation, but my husband has never helped me with cleaning or laundry on his days off. I often wonder how I managed to marry such a lazy husband and have been married to him for so long. However, while he may be lazy at home, he is serious about his work and reliable when it matters. When I had a traffic accident and got into trouble with the other party about 5 years ago, he stepped in and protected me. No matter how irritated I get, I guess I love this man in the end. Well, I don't plan on telling him that. Child rearing was tough, but once everything is over, the hardships become good memories. I have no regrets about my life so far and think it was a good one. Just when I thought I had led a good life in my own way, a major incident occurred. This is the result of the health checkup I had at work. Take a look. What? Do you need a detailed examination? Yes. Even though there's nothing wrong with me. My husband didn't feel anything wrong with his body, so he took the health checkup results lightly, and I wasn't too worried either. However, as a result of the detailed examination at the hospital, my husband was found to have liver cancer. He didn't seem to have any symptoms, but the cancer seemed to have progressed quite a bit. The unexpected cancer diagnosis plunged my husband and me into despair. However, there was also hope, not just bad things. Don't be so down. Didn't the doctor say there's a chance of recovery? Let's fight this together. I'm sorry. I've caused you nothing but trouble. Since my husband's cancer had not spread beyond his liver, there was a possibility that he could be saved by a liver transplant. Of course, I decided to donate my liver for my beloved husband. At first, I was anxious about the idea of losing my liver, but after hearing more from the doctor, it didn't seem to be the case. The liver can regenerate even if about 70% of it is removed, and it seems to return to its original state in about half a year. Therefore, although a part of my liver will be removed for the liver transplant, it will almost return to its original state after a while. Also, the surgery to remove my liver is done by laparoscopy, so the wound is small and the hospital stay is short. I felt embarrassed that I had been overly prepared and worried. However, we don't know how my husband's surgery will turn out, so that's unbearably worrying. My husband and I were hospitalized for a liver transplant operation. When I went to my husband's room, he was writing something in a notebook. "What are you writing?" "I don't know what will happen, so I thought I'd write down 100 things I want to do." "Don't say such unlucky things. I'm writing this with a positive intention. I'll do what I can before the surgery, and after the surgery, I'll work through the remaining things I want to do." "That's a good idea." "So, were you able to write 100 things?" "No, I could only think of about 50. It's surprisingly hard to come up with things I want to do." Seeing my husband's positive attitude towards treatment eased my anxiety a bit. However, I had no idea at the time that this list of things he wanted to do would lead to the breakdown of our married life. The transplant operation was successful, and both my husband and I were recovering well. I was discharged from the hospital 2 weeks after the surgery and returned to work 2 months later. My husband was able to return to society 3 months later than me. Although he still needs to continue treatment, we were able to return home for the time being and return to our original life, which made us feel happy. A week after returning to our original married life. "I'm going out for a bit. I'll be back by dinner. You should rest your body a bit. I realized after getting cancer. If I don't do what I want to do while I can, I'll regret it. So, I have to do what I want to do as much as possible." Since returning home, my husband has been constantly on the move. While I worry about his health, I am also happy to see him energetic. Also, there was another happy news. Mom, Dad. I'm getting married to Ryan. Our daughter was getting married. Her partner, Ryan, is a colleague at work and a refreshing handsome man who is too good for our daughter. I was curious about my husband's feelings, so I quietly checked his expression. "If you're okay with a daughter like this, take her. But no returns, even if you regret it later." He's trying to cover it up with a joke, but his desperate bravado is obvious to me from his expression. A month after my husband showed his bravado to our daughter's husband, he is still doing what he wants to do. It's nice that he's gotten better, but I wish he would start working soon. My husband quit his job when he was hospitalized for a liver transplant. He didn't have to quit, but he didn't know what would happen or when he could return, so he resigned because he thought it would be a bother. Since he quit his job, he has to start looking for a job, but he's playing around again today. "Did you buy a bicycle this time?" "It's not a bicycle. It's called a road bike." For the past month, my husband has been doing whatever he wants. He doesn't seem to intend to continue as a hobby because his goal is to do what he wants to do, so he is satisfied after touching each one a few times. As a result, our house is overflowing with new and expensive items such as golf clubs, guitars, and outdoor goods. No matter how much he has recovered, I can't tolerate any more of this. "Hey, don't you think it's about time you went back to work? The doctor said it's okay for you to work, right? I still feel a bit sluggish sometimes. What if I collapse at work? That would be a bother, right? Besides, I still have to go to the hospital. So, I'll wait and see about work." "Well, work is fine, but can you think a little about how you spend money? I think you're spending too much. I learned the weight of life from my illness, and the importance of doing what I want to do while I'm healthy. You, who have never faced a life-threatening situation, don't understand that what I'm doing is not just playing. I understand what you're saying, but if we keep going like this, our life will. Why do I have to complain so much when I've finally recovered from my illness? Oh, I'm getting irritated. I feel like I'm going to get sick again. There have been conflicts with my husband before, but there were also times when he cared for me. However, the current husband is using up our couple's savings at will. He only enjoys himself, and doesn't care that I'm worrying about the future. It seems that my husband's personality has changed due to his illness. Half a year later, my husband is still not working. Moreover, his selfish behavior is escalating. I decided to take some measures because I thought this situation couldn't continue. Hey, the money in the bank is gone. Where did you put it? I moved it to a new account because you were spending too much money. If you keep spending money as you please, we really won't be able to live. Don't mess with me. Give me the money now. Hey, stop it. My husband grabbed my collar and glared at me with a devilish look. I inadvertently averted my eyes from my husband's force, but I couldn't give him the money, so I desperately hid my fear and retorted. I won't give you the money, no matter how much you yell. I get it. Enough. My husband pushed me away with the hand that had been grabbing my collar and left the house. Lately, my husband has been staying out for several days more often. Therefore, I feel relieved when my husband leaves the house. This is not a good situation. As our married life continues to go in a bad direction, my stress continues to build up. However, even in such a life that seems to be heading towards hell, there are times when happy things happen. Mom, listen. I'm pregnant. Really? Congratulations. I received a report of pregnancy from my daughter over the phone. When I think about having a grandchild, I completely forget about my husband. I have been consulting with my daughter about my husband's selfish behavior and my worries. However, I didn't want to change the bright news of pregnancy into a dark atmosphere. Therefore, during this phone call, my daughter and I naturally avoided the topic of my husband. I'm sure my daughter was talking to me with consideration. I feel pathetic as a parent for making my child worry unnecessarily. Hearing my daughter's happy news eased my accumulated stress a bit. However, my husband quickly replenishes the reduced stress. You. That's my wallet. Huh? I know. I'm just borrowing it. Don't make a fuss about a little thing. My husband took $40 from my wallet, crumpled it in his right hand, and left the house. I could only watch him and let out a sigh. My husband's spending spree continues, and the value of money in our house has increased compared to before. To me now, $40 is a lot of money. Thanks to my recovered husband giving me a lot of stress, my health is gradually deteriorating. Various symptoms such as lethargy and insomnia are appearing, but there was something that bothered me a bit. There was something like a rash on my breast, and the skin was chapped. When my husband had cancer, I had a period when I researched a lot about cancer. Could it be, while being crushed by anxiety, I decided to have it examined at the hospital. As a result of the examination at the hospital, I found out that I had breast cancer. Fortunately, it has not progressed yet, and it seems that it can be treated with surgery like my husband. I was relieved about that, but the method of surgery was unbearable for women. As soon as I left the hospital, I called my husband. What? Why are you calling me all of a sudden? Well, I've got cancer too. What? You too? It's breast cancer, but it seems that it can be treated with surgery. If you say breast cancer surgery, you mean cutting off the breast, right? Well, it's not a complete removal, but depending on the condition, they might have to cut off most of the left breast. Are you serious? Even my husband seemed to be worried about hearing that I had cancer, and there was a brief silence. After all, my husband is kind. I thought so for a moment, but it seemed that my husband was thinking about something completely different from what I imagined. Let's get a divorce. What? It was so sudden and casually mentioned that I couldn't understand the meaning of his words or his thoughts. What do you mean by divorce? It means to end our marital relationship. Don't you understand Japanese English? That's not what I mean. Why are you suddenly talking about divorce? Because you're stingy and always complaining. Plus, you're losing your breasts, right? I don't want a woman with only one breast. My husband said the one thing I didn't want to hear. I was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions, anger and disbelief towards my husband, fear and anxiety about my illness. And I couldn't find the words to respond. Actually, there's someone I've been thinking is pretty good, and we're in a good relationship right now. She's 10 years younger than you, doesn't smell like an old lady, isn't stingy, and doesn't complain. I wanted to experience a new love too. I'm going to start over with her. Unbelievably, my husband declared his affair and demanded a divorce as soon as I told him I had breast cancer. Could it be that his not coming home and taking money was because of her? My husband's declaration of infidelity ignited the anger that had been mixed in with my other emotions. That's enough. I'll divorce you. Oh, you'll divorce me? That helps. The sound of my husband laughing on the other end of the phone fueled my anger. I had supported my husband when he had cancer, even donating an organ, and had put up with him doing whatever he wanted for a year in the hope that he would return to his old self. Is this the result? It seems my husband intends to abandon me now that I have cancer. I don't need a person like you. When I got home, my husband wasn't there, and he didn't come back even on the day I was admitted to the hospital. Maybe the affair has already started. Since he has already expressed his intention to divorce, it may not technically be an affair. But to me, it's the same as an affair. My husband has been using our savings as he pleases, and I haven't used much of it. I felt like I had lost to my husband and unconsciously put strength into my hand as I wrote my name on the divorce application. I submitted the divorce application with my name on it and headed to the hospital. The night I was admitted, my husband seemed to have come home and sent me a message. I'll respond when I get the divorce application. Right now, my mind is full of thoughts about my body, so I didn't feel any shock from my husband's message. Maybe I've already lost interest in him. The next day, I had surgery. It hadn't progressed much, so the surgery seemed to go smoothly. I was worried about my breasts, but the surgery was done with an endoscope, so the scars aren't noticeable. However, seeing my deformed breast gave me a bigger shock than the divorce. My daughter and son-in-law came to visit me and cheered me up. I'm glad the surgery was successful. Thank you. Don't be so down. The doctor said there's an option to have breast reconstruction surgery. If you need money, we'll support you. And we plan to support you after you're discharged, so don't worry about your life from now on. I feel bad relying on my daughter and son-in-law. However, having just had surgery and going through a divorce, I have no choice but to rely on my daughter and son-in-law. I'll have to repay this favor someday. Even so, Dad is too awful. Divorcing Mom when she found out she had cancer. He even had a liver transplant from Mom. I had forgotten my anger towards my husband due to the anxiety of illness and surgery. However, my daughter's words reignited my anger towards my husband. Indeed, that's too cruel. I'm sure divine punishment will come down on him soon. Do words carry a soul? I said it casually as a joke, but after that, divine punishment really did come down on my husband. A week after the surgery, I was still in the hospital. I often hear that hospital life is boring because there's nothing to do, but for me, who had been tormented by my husband and had a hellish life, being able to spend the whole day in bed without doing anything felt like heaven. As I was dozing off in bed, a call came in on my smartphone. When I checked the incoming call screen, my ex-husband's name was displayed. Naturally, I didn't want to ruin this heavenly time, so I ignored it. I decided to ignore the call and go to sleep. 2 hours later, when I woke up and checked my smartphone, there were 30 missed calls from my ex-husband. What happened? Since he had called me many times, I was a little curious about the reason for his calls. However, since I'm currently in the hospital, I'd rather not take on any extra stress. Therefore, no matter how many times he called, I decided not to call back. But even after that, the calls from my ex-husband didn't stop. I couldn't relax like this, so I blocked my ex-husband's number. With so many calls, the annoyance outweighed the curiosity, and I stopped caring about the content of the calls. 2 weeks after the surgery. Congratulations on your discharge. Thank you. I was able to be discharged safely and was going to stay with my daughter and son-in-law for a while. On the way from the hospital to my daughter and son-in-law's house, I asked them to stop by an electronics store. What are you buying? Since a new life is about to start, I thought I'd change my smartphone. Changing my smartphone was like a small ceremony to make a fresh start. However, since my husband had squandered our money, I didn't have much money, so I sold my smartphone and used the money to buy a new one. I also changed my number, so I was relieved that I wouldn't receive any more calls from my ex-husband on this phone. That's what I thought, but my ex-husband had resorted to drastic measures because he couldn't contact me. A few days after I started living with my daughter and son-in-law, I went out for a walk to build up my strength, and my ex-husband was lying in wait outside. I finally got to see you. What? I was surprised and almost fell over when my ex-husband suddenly appeared and shouted at me. Why are you here? I couldn't get through to you all of a sudden, so I called Amelia. Then I heard that she was going to live with you after you were discharged. But Amelia said she wouldn't let me see you, so I've been staking out in front of the house for the past 3 days, waiting for you to come out. Staking out, what he was doing was akin to stalking, and honestly, it was creepy. However, thinking that he had something he wanted to talk to me about so badly made me curious about what it was. Why did you come to see me? You were calling me, weren't you? Actually, my cancer has recurred. The recurrence rate of liver cancer is high. Apparently, my husband was no exception. So what? I need another liver transplant. I understood why he had resorted to stalking. If his life was at stake, he would naturally become desperate. However, unfortunately, I couldn't meet my husband's expectations. I'm sorry, I can't. Why? Help me. I regret pushing for a divorce. But this is a matter of life and death. Are you going to abandon a life you can save? Don't say such terrible things. It's not that I'm not in a position to do a liver transplant anymore, physically or otherwise. What do you mean? The liver transplant my husband and I underwent was a living donor liver transplant, which is an organ transplant from a living person to another living person. This can only be done by close relatives. Since my husband and I are already divorced, I am not in a position to become a donor. It seems that even if you are not my relative, I can become a donor, but I have just finished breast cancer surgery and will continue to receive treatment. There's no way such a person can become a donor. Therefore, no matter how much I want to become a donor, I can't. No way. I can't get a transplant. What about your affair partner? Can't she help? I was abandoned. What? It seems that my ex-husband met his affair partner on a matching app. I wonder if using a matching app was one of the things he wanted to do. My ex-husband seemed to be serious about the woman he met on the matching app, but it seems that she didn't feel the same way. It seems that my ex-husband was just getting carried away by himself. It's only natural to run away if a playmate becomes serious and approaches you, and you need support because of illness. That's unfortunate. Your parents are too old for a transplant, and you don't have any siblings. The situation is desperate. Amelia is my only hope. I've already been turned down on the phone, but can you ask her for me? That's impossible. Amelia is pregnant. No way. Didn't she tell you it's impossible because she's pregnant? If she doesn't say it's because of pregnancy, it means she doesn't intend to help you even after giving birth. Why? Why won't Amelia help me? I've been hearing about Dad from Mom all along. Perhaps my ex-husband and I made too much noise in front of the house, and our daughter came out of the house. I told you on the phone, didn't I? I don't consider someone who would abandon my mother with cancer to be my father. Don't get involved anymore. Please. My cancer has recurred. Please help me. You've done what you wanted to do, haven't you? Then, no matter what happens from now on, you won't have any regrets, right? Of course not. Even if I can't do what I want to do, it's better to have a life. Then why did he do as he pleased to the point of destroying our life together? I understood very well that my ex-husband was not doing what he wanted to do because he knew the importance of life due to his illness, but was just using his illness as an excuse to do what he wanted. It's too late to regret now. It's your own fault that you can't get help, so don't hold a grudge. I'm really sorry. Please, help me. We are no longer related to you, so please ask someone else. My daughter, in place of me who is losing strength, pushed my ex-husband's body and drove him away. My ex-husband left, looking back at us many times with lingering affection. As I thought, divine punishment seemed to have fallen on my ex-husband. After that, my ex-husband seems to be continuing treatment to slow down the progression of cancer because he can't find a donor. He must be terrified of the disease that is slowly progressing. Also, the divine punishment for my ex-husband was not only the disease. It seems that the woman my ex-husband was having an affair with was actually married. Therefore, it seems that he is about to be sued for damages by the husband of his affair partner. Heaven gives a rather severe trial. I want my ex-husband to overcome this trial and become a respectable person. I am continuing my treatment for the disease while being taken care of at my daughter and son-in-law's house. My daughter and son-in-law have told me that I can stay at their house as long as I want. But I can't bother my daughter and son-in-law forever. I'm about to be able to return to work soon, so I plan to start living alone once I can go back to work. But until then, I think I'll let my kind daughter and son-in-law spoil me.